Hey, welcome back to Big Board Sports. Nice looking Thursday morning. Hope everybody's doing well. This is Big Board Sports. We follow Mike and Mike, take you right up to Hahn and Humpty, and Met fans are pumped up. They've taken the first three from the Marlins. They'll try to complete the four-game sweep tonight, and we are joined by Jeff Paternostro from Baseball Prospectus on this New York Mets team and all the injuries, everything going on. So, Jeff, first question for you this morning on Big Board Sports. Is this Mets team going to get there? Are they going to make the postseason?
It's going to be interesting because they just lost Neil Walker for the season, who's been a big part of their offensive resurgence over the last couple of weeks. They're going to rely on veteran hands like Kelly Johnson. There's a lot of unproven rookies now in the starting rotation, and not sort of the Noah Syndergaards and Steven Matz's of the past. I mean, Matz looks like he'll be out for the season with a shoulder issue. They keep pushing him back a week, but it just sounds like it's not going to happen for him. And given his past arm issues, it's probably for the best that they just shut him down until 2017. So you're going to see Robert Gsellman and Seth Lugo as 2/5 of this rotation. The thing they have going for them is the schedule is very soft in September. They have 6 games left with the Nationals, including 3 this weekend and then 3 in the middle of September. Other than that, they play the Marlins, who look like they're fading, multiple series against the Phillies and Braves, who are already looking to 2017 as it is, and series with the Reds and the Twins, who are 2 of the worst teams in baseball right now. Now, they're going to have to play something like 650 baseball the rest of the way to feel confident, but the schedule's opened up nice for them, and the lineups, even with Neil Walker out, healthier than it's been. It's as close as you're going to get to the opening day team right now, and if they beat who's in front of them, they've already made up so much ground this week, too, I think is sort of the underreported thing here. They were 4.5 back going into the Cardinals series. All of a sudden, they're 1.5 back, and they've passed the 2 teams that were in between them and the Cardinals. And the NL West teams are trying to come back to the pack, too, a little bit for that first wild card spot. So they have a few different options. You've seen their playoff odds go up from single digits to around 1 and 3, depending on what source you use now. So I wouldn't call them a favorite, but it's certainly going to be meaningful games in September, as Omar and Fred used to say.
Jeff Paternostro with us here, Baseball Prospectus, talking about the New York Mets. Let's get the negative. Let's continue the negatives first. You talked about Neil Walker maybe being out for the season. You talked about Steven Matz maybe being out for the season. Jay Bruce has really struggled. What did you think of that acquisition initially, and what do you think of it now?
If you just look at the acquisition in a vacuum, what they gave up for Jay Bruce, given his track record and how he'd played in 2016 so far, I think the deal is very defensible. That said, they already had Yoenis Cespedes, who is going to be limited to a corner outfield position, left field, once he came back from his hip and quad issues. You had Curtis Granderson, who's also still on the books for next year at similar money, who's limited to a corner outfield spot, although they continue to try to play him in center off and on. And, of course, Michael Conforto, who was the best prospect in the system at this time last year, was a big part of their run down the stretch in 2015 to get them into the playoffs, was hitting in the middle of the lineup during those playoffs, and was one of the best hitters in baseball in April. Yes, he struggled since then. He had a wrist issue in there as well. He's back up now with the roster expansion. It just seemed like there was an obvious fit for Jay Bruce when they brought him in. And honestly, you don't want to read too much into a month of baseball, but it's not just that he hasn't hit, but he's looked slow against what we consider average Major League fastball velocity. He's late on a lot of that stuff. And he's looked very bad defensively in right field, which the Mets swore up and down when they acquired him, that sort of the advanced metrics on Bruce didn't match their own sort of internal reports and their own internal defensive metrics on him. But I think you watch him play for a month, he's just not a very good right fielder at this point. So will Terry Collins find room for Michael Conforto down the stretch? Do you try to capture that offensive upside that Conforto has? Maybe Jay Bruce doesn't. Collins has been very, very hesitant to really give Conforto an extended look, especially against left-handed pitching. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see.
Jeff, even up until recently, there's been criticism about Terry Collins, and maybe they need a new voice. And if they don't make the playoffs, Collins, they got to make a change at the top, and maybe Sandy Alderson would do that, which I totally disagree with. But here they are, a chance to make the playoffs again. Let me ask you, Jeff, how do you think Terry Collins has handled this team?
I think you know what you get with Terry Collins. He's been the manager now. This is his 6th season in charge, one of the longest tenured managers in Mets history. He likes his veterans. He likes chasing the platoon advantage a little bit too much sometimes. Supposedly he's good in the clubhouse. I'm not in there. I can't speak to that. Does that make up for his tactical shortcomings? I really don't know. I think evaluating managers from the outside is incredibly difficult to do. You can certainly point to a plethora of injuries the Mets have had this year up and down the lineup. You go back to that opening day lineup, I think more than half of them are currently on the DL and or out for the season. But the Dodgers have dealt with equally, if not more, catastrophic injuries. The Nationals are 9 games up on the Mets right now, and they've had several major pieces miss a lot of time this year. I don't think you can just hand wave the team struggles with injuries, but I say Terry Collins is probably a below-average tactical manager, maybe above average in the clubhouse. He has sort of his very clear predilections that I think can hurt this particular team, given the organization's inability and or unwillingness to spend on the kind of veteran help that you should be playing over the younger players. But you can't really complain about the team's performance. That's what it comes down to. It's when you're making decisions on managers, it comes down to win-loss record. In the last 2 years, Terry Collins has been pretty good.
Jeff, a lot of injuries on this team. Neil Walker is the latest. So when you look at guys that need to come through down the stretch, who would you say are the most important players that need to come through?
Cespedes. That's the chalk. I know it's the easy answer, but the lineup's just different when he's in it and when he's healthy. And, since he's come back off the DL, there's been a couple scares with the quad. He's probably not at 100%, but how many baseball players on September 1st, the long season, are really at 100%? He just makes such a difference in that lineup. He's the one guy you can't pitch to. He's the one guy that can change a game with one swing. And he just, I write for Baseball Perspectives, which is a sabermetrically inclined website, and we can debate sort of the nature of clutch and how we measure it and whether it actually exists. I will say this, Cespedes is a guy that wants the bat in his hands in a big spot, and he's the kind of guy that can deliver a big win down the stretch for them. And at this point, that one win, that walk-off against Miami earlier this week, something else he may do, a two-run homer to tie it in the 9th sometime in the next couple of weeks, could literally be the difference between the Mets making the playoffs and not.
I have to move over to the Yankees. We're your home for Yankees baseball. I was having this talk with Zach Bye the other day. Please tell me that despite how good he is, please tell me Gary Sanchez will not end up in Rookie of the Year conversation based on a month and 3/4 worth of service time. I
think in a different season, you might be able to make the case. I think Michael Fulmer of the Tigers, he's been there all year. It's I think if he's not still the ERA leader in the AL, he's in the top 2 or 3. It is ultimately, Rookie of the Year is a counting stat award. Playing time should matter. And as good as Gary Sanchez has been, and it is, it's something special. It's amazing. It's great to watch. I was a big proponent of him coming into the season. I'm glad he's gotten an opportunity to be their everyday catcher, and I think he'll be a very good one for a long while. I don't think you can get him over Michael Fulmer.
Thank you. That is exactly what I'm saying, people who are listening. Exactly what I'm saying. It needs to be close to a full season's worth of accolades acquired. Jeff Paternostro, Baseball Perspectives, breaking down the Mets and also justifying my Gary Sanchez Rookie of the Year position.
Hey, Jeff, appreciate it. Good stuff on the Mets and the Yankees, and we'll see if the Mets can complete the 4-game sweep of the Marlins tonight at Citi Field. Thanks for coming on Big Board Sports in Albany.
All right, thanks for having me.